Hello Internet, Big Dave here, and I am cheap. How cheap? Well, I'm so cheap that I've been playing a free-to-play weekend of Brink. Brink usually retails for about $49.99. I guess you could also call that $50. It's been on sale during the free-to-play weekend. It's also on sale on Steam as part of the QuakeCon bundle. So check that out if you're really interested in Brink. If you played the free-to-play weekend, hopefully you've enjoyed it. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. For those of you who don't know, Brink is the team-based, objective-oriented FPS from Bethesda and Splash Damage, developed by Splash Damage, published by Bethesda Softworks. Brink's initial reception was fairly mixed. A lot of critics thought it was the second coming of team-based FPS gameplay, while others seemed to consider it unfinished, saying that it was a couple of updates from really being a complete game. Now, having heard all that, I still had really high hopes when trying Brink, because Splash Damage is responsible for one of my favorite team play games of all times, Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. That game was absolutely fantastic. It was free to play. I loved the hell out of that game way back when it first came out, and played quite a bit of it, so I had extremely high expectations for Brink. Let's talk a little bit about the game. Let's start out with what you're seeing on your screen right now. Should we save the Ark or destroy the Ark? This is the question that you are posed right after the introduction cinematic ends. It's an interesting way to start a game. It's asking you to define your role, essentially based on a cinematic that you've just watched. So after some careful consideration, I decided to save the Ark, putting me in the position of authority, giving me the billy club with which to bash the beatnik rebels in the head, fire hosing their protests aside, and saving the utopian Ark. After another quick little cinematic, you are dropped into the character customization screen, and while I customize my character in the background, this gives me a good opportunity to talk about one of my favorite initial things about Brink as I looked at screenshots and then eventually installed the game and booted it up and got going. The art style, it is amazing. I really love this highly detailed, realistic, but yet caricatured style that they have for these guys. It's great, and I love the fact that they're not afraid to put ugly characters in games. I mean, that's one of those things. Every hero doesn't have an iron jaw, you know? I really like to see ugly characters, and I eventually decide on a fairly ugly dude to be my avatar. So I really like the art style. The customization is pretty deep. It is nice. I really liked it. As you can see, eventually after some moving around of costumes and faces and hats and whatnot, I decide on the limey outfit, which dresses me up like a good old British kappa. And I kind of like that. I like the idea that I'm walking around in this shirt and tie and beating the crap out of these grimy rebels. One thing I noticed is that there are no female character options, and a couple of critics gave them a hard time about that, but it kind of comes down to which is worse. Is it worse to put females in the game and for them all to be these petite, double D-packing, beauty pageant queens with their midriffs exposed in a combat zone, or to not have them at all? I mean, I honestly wish they had put them in. I wish they'd put them in the same way that they put the male characters in. I wish they'd put in some unattractive women, some bulky, strong female characters, because every woman out in the world, maybe you guys have noticed, she ain't packing double Ds and she's not beauty queen pretty. So let's put some real women. They did enough with the real men. I mean, the dude with the giant nose is hilarious. Put some women in and show that, hey, women can be tough, and they don't always have to have their boobies hanging out, you know? So at this point, my first impression of the game, aside from the female thing, is pretty damn positive. A fantastic art style, an interesting way to start the game with asking you which side you want to be after showing you the cinematic, and I've got no complaints. The guns, I take a look at those real quick. Good customization on the guns. A lot of things in this game to unlock, which is always fun. I mean, why wouldn't I want things to unlock? If I'm going to commit to playing this game, I want some rewards. Alright, with all that initial stuff out of the way, it still leaves us with the major question, the make or break. How does this game play? Because that's what matters in the end, right? I've cut together a montage of footage, about 10 minutes of gameplay, from the several hours that I played over the free-to-play weekend. So that means there's only one thing left to say: to the action. Alright, we've got about 10 minutes or so of footage that I cut together from the free-to-play weekend, so we'll take a look at the action here. I'll talk a little bit. I don't really think I have as much talking in me as I have footage, so once the chit-chat is done, go ahead and switch the video off if you want. I'll keep it running, and you can check out the action, but don't feel compelled to stay. I won't be insulted if you stop the video. So, Brink, let's talk about it. Well, all in all, I enjoyed the game. I mean, it wasn't bad. That's certainly true. I think when talking about Brink, we need to talk about the fact that the game is trying to be several different things. It doesn't have a straight-ahead mission. It's trying to be a pseudo-modern shooter, tactical style, something like Modern Warfare 2. Not super realistic, but with a sheen of realism on it. It's trying to be a team-based, objective-oriented Team Fortress 2 style game. And it's trying to incorporate parkour elements to sort of extend the playing field of the game to the walls and to interesting heights that you couldn't get to if there was only a jumping mechanic. And then on top of that, it's also trying to convey a fairly entertaining storyline to you at the same time. The problem is, because the things that it's trying to do, the different aspects that it's trying to embody, the team play, the pseudo-tactical shooter, the parkour, the storyline, because they don't mesh extremely well, the game ends up falling flat. I'm a big believer in specialization. You know, when you try to do too much, you end up not doing anything good. So if you're trying to be a tactical shooter, you're trying to be a team play game, you're trying to be slightly innovative with your movement system, and you're trying to tell a story, some of that is going to fall to the wayside. And unfortunately for this game, I think most of it falls to the wayside. It doesn't succeed to a great extent at being a tactical shooter. It doesn't succeed to a great extent at being a team-based objective game. It doesn't succeed necessarily as well as it could in the parkour elements. It's there, but you know, I wish there were more obvious places. A lot of the levels are similar to this level you're seeing here. I mean, it's just little corridors, essentially. I mean, there's no roof on it, but it's just a corridor shooter. There are other levels that don't feel quite as corridor-ish, but for the most part, a lot of them do. A lot of them feel very much like simple corridors, you know, alleys and streets, and not a lot of free movement. So it's not succeeding at any of the things as well as it could if it just focused on a couple. If it was only trying to be a pseudo-tactical, team-based game, then maybe it could do a lot better. If it was only trying to be a parkour game with a really good storyline, maybe it would do a little bit better, but in the end, because it tries to do so much, it ends up falling short of its goals. And I hate that, because I wanted this game to be good. I wanted to like this game. I mean, I took a look at the art style. I watched the intro trailer to it. I loved those things. But then I played the game, and I just wasn't impressed. And it pains me, because I wanted this game to be good. I love Splash Damage as a company. They made probably my favorite team play game of all time. As I said before, Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. I love that game, and I wanted that experience. But because they added additional layers to this game that didn't exist in their previous Enemy Territory games, I think it caused them to fall short. I mean, Splash Damage as a company knows how to do objective-based team play. They've done it in an amazing way in other games. But somehow, it didn't work out the same this time around. And I don't know what, I can't put my finger on what it is they could have done differently. But it's clear that they needed to do something differently. All in all, this game is fine. It's fun. It was good for the weekend. It was entertaining, but if I had bought it, honestly, I wouldn't feel like I could get my money's worth out of this game. which is sad to say, because I really wanted to like this game. I mean, I've said that a couple of times now. I wanted to like this game. So much of what this game is visual and story, and it succeeds in those ways. If it could have just been a little more solid on the rest of the game. I mean, I think about it this way. When I first saw the trailers for Team Fortress 2, you know, I don't know how old most of you guys are, how much you remember this, but, you know, I played the original Team Fortress on the Quake engine, in Quake, as a Quake mod. And then I played the Team Fortress Classic as it was, you know, ported over to Half-Life. And I was looking so forward to Team Fortress 2, and they were doing it in this sort of modern, tactical, military style, and it just disappeared. And then years later, the first preview videos surfaced from out of nowhere. The videos that showed the individual classes, and, you know, the sniper and the scout and all these things. And my jaw dropped. And then when I got the game, it dropped again, because not only did it have this amazing art style and this fun sort of wit about it, it totally delivered on the gameplay. And I think, unfortunately, that's where this game falls short. It has 2 out of the 3 things that it needs to be great. It has amazing art style and it has a great storyline. But without the gameplay, it's just not there. Well, guys, I hate to end on a downer, but I really wanted to like this game. I hope you played the free-to-play weekend. I hope maybe you had a little bit of fun with it. And if you have a different take on Brink, let me know. Tell me in the comments below. Otherwise, guys, until next time, take it easy.
That's a frag grenade! Weapon tuned up. Changing mode! Gatling turret deployed! Mine planted! Going for the health command post! Multiple enemies spotted! Changing mode! Reloading! What are you doing? They destroyed the side stairs.
Pull back! The bioweapon's gone. God knows where they took it. That was our one chance.